Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Prashant Kumar Sinha bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. The headlines: Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for continued vigilance as India prepares to roll out COVID vaccinations. Nationwide dry run to begin on the 2nd of January. Thousands of Indian students in China stuck in limbo. Indian embassy in discussion with Chinese authorities over repatriation. United States demands release of jailed Uighur doctor in China. 22 people killed and more than 50 wounded in an attack on Yemen's airport. Protests held in several countries to demand justice for Baloch activist Karim Baloch. Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, laid the foundation stone of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences AIIMS at Rajkot in Gujarat today through video conferencing. In his address, Mr. Modi said the new year is coming with the hope of treatment. Expressing cautious optimism, the Prime Minister called for continued vigilance amongst people. He said the slogan used to be Jab tak dawai nahi, dhilai nahi, but now the mantra for 2021 should be Dawai bhi, kadai bhi. The new slogan calls for people to strictly observe the necessary precautions as they wait for the vaccination.
पहले मैं कहता था दवाई नहीं तो ढिलाई नहीं, लेकिन अब मैं फिर से कह रहा हूं दवाई भी और कड़ाई भी। कड़ाई भी बरतनी है और दवाई भी लेनी है। दवाई आ गई तो सब छूट मिल गई, ये भ्रम में मत रहना। दुनिया यही कहती है, वैज्ञानिक यही कहते हैं, और इसलिए अब मंत्र रहेगा हमारा 2021 का, दवाई भी और कड़ाई भी।
The dry run for COVID-19 vaccine will take place across the country on the 2nd of January 2021. The Indian government has asked all states to ensure effective preparedness for the vaccine rollout. India's Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan chaired a high-level meeting to review the preparedness at session sites for COVID-19 vaccination. The objective of the dry run for COVID-19 vaccine introduction is to identify the challenges and guide the way forward prior to actual implementation. Indian students pursuing their higher studies in China are in limbo as there is no clarity from the Chinese side on their return to the campuses. Around 20,000 Indian students, along with many other foreign students, are waiting to return from their motherland and resume their studies. Many of them are stuck for 11 months now, losing almost a year. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin on Thursday said China will assess the situation concerning resumption of studies in China for foreign students. He said it requires colleges and universities to carefully arrange online courses for them and to address their legitimate concerns. However, students who spoke to Prasar Bharati told that online courses have limited utility and there has been no communication from the Chinese side on their return. More in this report from our Beijing correspondent.
Chinese Foreign Ministry said China will assess the situation and will continue discussing that with all parties. Its spokesperson said it requires colleges and universities to keep in close contact with overseas students, carefully manage online courses for them and properly address their legitimate concerns and needs. However, few of the affected students said that online courses have limited utility and there has been no communication from Chinese side on their return, causing anxiety over their future.
The United States called for the release of an Uighur Muslim medical doctor, Gulshan Abbas, who was sentenced to 20 years jail in China. In a tweet, the U.S. Assistant Secretary Robert Destro said Gulshan Abbas must be released. He further asserted that the doctor's forcible disappearance, detainment and harsh sentencing by the Chinese Communist Party is evidence of a family suffering the consequences of speaking out against a government that has no respect for human rights. Protests have been held in the United States, Netherlands and across different cities of Balochistan against alleged murder of prominent Baloch leader Karim Baloch. Thousands of students, women and children participated in the protests at Balochistan. Protesters demand a thorough and independent investigation into the mysterious death of Karima Baloch. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. The year that is soon to pass will go down in history as one which witnessed many an aberration. The COVID pandemic brought life to a standstill. As we approach the end of this year, it is time to pay respects to those who lost their lives to the pandemic. Social distancing, homestay and isolation became necessary for survival. Global leaders rallied their countries to observe the protocols put in place to save lives. Very soon there was a realization that the problems of today's world can only be solved together. Cooperation, partnership and multilateralism came to the fore in fighting the pandemic. Multilateral institutions were pressed into action and the Secretary General of the United Nations urged nations to work together.
In an interconnected world, we need a networked multilateralism in which the United Nations family, international financial institutions, regional organizations, trading blocs and others work together more closely and more effectively. And we also need, as the President said, an inclusive multilateralism, drawing on civil society, cities, businesses, local authorities, and more on young people.
India is poised to claim its rightful position of a leader of nations in the coming year. With its entry into the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member, India's growing stature in the high table of international relations is being welcomed by nations across the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi summarized the sentiment shared by the world in the words of Mahatma Gandhi.
गांधी जी कहते थे कि मैं भारत का उत्थान इसलिए चाहता हूं कि सारी दुनिया उसका लाभ उठा सके। इस एक पंक्ति में ग्लोबलाइजेशन की भारतीय सोच भी है और आगे के लिए कोलैबोरेशन का मंत्र भी है।
The year saw new leaders stepping up to take the mantle on combating climate change. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern declared climate emergency, committed to a carbon-neutral economy by the year 2025. Japan and a few other countries joined the move.
This declaration is an acknowledgement of the next generation, an acknowledgement of the burden that they will carry if we do not get this right and if we do not take action now. So importantly, this is a declaration that records the importance and formal importance of our intent as a nation and our intent on the global stage.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's clarion call to make India self-reliant and Atmanirbhar Bharat received a ringing endorsement from its partner nations. The Secretary General of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization shared in the optimism that a self-reliant India is good for the world.
Self-reliant India initiative voiced by Mr. Modi deserves high attention. It aims to strengthen industry, medium and small enterprises, which are the livelihood of millions of people in India. I am confident that the initiative will have a multiplier effect on the world economy as well as will contribute to the early recovery of the economies of the ASEAN member states in the post-pandemic period and to intensification of multifaceted trade and economic cooperation within the organization.
If the first half of the year 2020 was witness to human vulnerabilities, the second half of the year was a reflection of human resilience. As the sun ushers in the first day of the new year, the arrival of vaccines, the shared belief in multilateralism and cooperation promises a better world in the year 2021. As we wrap up the last edition of the World News this year, we leave you with the music of hope.
No more champagne and the fireworks are through. Here we are, me and you, feeling lost and feeling blue. It's the end of the party and the morning seems so grey, so unlike yesterday. Now
Here's wishing you all a happy, healthy and prosperous new year. And with that we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow.